Good evening. I hope this video finds you in the best of health and spirits. This is a rather interesting video, extremely interesting video. The title of this video is Why Religious Studies in Academia Need a Radical Makeover in the 21st Century and Beyond. Okay. The core objectives of this video is to infer and explain why we believe that there is an urgent need to revitalize and revamp religious studies and bring it to a radically new contemporary format. Okay. We explain why this is extremely important task and an endeavor for science and society as a whole. Okay. Therefore, the chief objective of this paper, this video, is to explain why religious studies, particularly in Western universities where they have been birthed and gestated, need a foundational revamp. Okay, vast chunks of it are antiquated, obsolete, and have become largely irrelevant. They are also ideologically soaked and ideologically drenched to boot. Okay. We also explain why doing so would be a vast and immense benefit to science and to society as a whole and to all other allied fields of studies, given the fact that science has become increasingly interdisciplinary, not only interdisciplinary but also transdisciplinary. There's a plethora of difference between the two. Okay, we begin this video by tracing the history of Western universities right from the 10th century after Christ and explore the impact they have had on scholarly thought. Okay, of course, we had earlier scribes and other places too writing existed, Sumeria, Mesopotamia, and Egypt. We also had the Indus script and we had Takshashila, Nalanda, and in ancient India. And so did we have other centers everywhere. Okay, therefore, the very nature of religious studies we are exploring in this video at a fairly great level of depth. The weaknesses of current approaches I've seen them, including inconsistency and incoherence of approach and vacillation between either adulation or glorification and abhorrence. Besides the presence of a large number of conscious, subconscious, intended or unintended ideologies, the definition of which we had proposed in a previous paper in a previous video. Okay, there are a large number of ideologies which need to be done away with. Okay, we therefore hope and expect that this video will constitute an important part of 21st century social science and can have ripple and cascading effect for all other fields of social science as well. Okay, the conclusions of this video will of course apply to all parts of the world, but Western universities are particularly emphasized because most of scientific and scholarly research is taking place in Western universities. If we trace the history of Western universities, this they began in the 10th century in the modern format after the death of Christ, and the original medieval universities stemmed from early Roman Catholic research church schools and were established in order to promote the training of students, improvement of the different aspects of society, and to a very small extent to promote rational thought and critical thinking skills also. This happened right before the Protestant Reformation and the Renaissance and Enlightenment. Therefore, critical thinking was not emphasized to such a large extent. And some of the earliest medical schools or Western institutions were like medical schools also. One of which arose in Salerno in Italy, and it's currently located in Fisciano and Baronesi in Italy. Okay, Salerno Scuola Medica Salernitana was the most important medical school in Europe between the 10th and 13th centuries and drew students from all over Europe. Another important early university in the West was founded in Bologna in the year 1088, but rapidly expanded during the course of the next 2 centuries and became a full-fledged university much later on. University of Paris, for example, was founded between 1150 and 1170 AD, and it began to be renowned for scholarly existence and it provided a template and format for other universities to be founded on. In the year 1218, King Alfonso IX founded the University of Salamanca, and the University of Naples Federico II is a public research university in Naples and was established in the year 24. It is one of the oldest public secular universities in the world. These early universities provided the blueprint and template for other universities in different parts of the continent. Okay, however, there was this, we had a dark ages and which is known for the knights, not jokingly, jovially. It was blighted by the dark ages and medievalism, and after that we had the Renaissance and the Enlightenment, and after that science got a big leg up and a boost. Okay, therefore much of Western scholarly existence excellence is traced to Western Europe only mostly. Okay, at the time India continued to languish under first Islamic period. Some people consider it to be a golden age, particularly Marxist scholars. Some people deny it, particularly Hindu scholars. But anyway, we were blighted by racism and colonialism to a large degree. And later we had American universities once the rise of the USA took place, like Harvard University, Stanford University, etc. And the French term École Polytechnique was established in the year 1794 by Gaspard Monge during the French Revolution. And the German university model, based on the Humboldtian model, was established by Wilhelm von Humboldt and based on Friedrich Schleiermacher's general ideas and principles. Okay, science also began to be taught in these universities, but I believe the way science is being taught leaves a lot to be desired. That is why I have written published several papers on scientific method. I will continue to keep talking about this more in the future also. Universities also were established in British colonies such as in Kolkata, Bombay, and Chennai, Madras. Okay, had played initially a major role in these universities, but gradually it declined. And just as Greek ideals and scholarship was rediscovered, many new what forms of knowledge were also birthed and gestated. Okay, therefore, the quest for knowledge, truth, and scientific wisdom became central to all these Western universities. These also provide the pivot upon which economic and technological growth of the region rested. Again, I had spoken to you about the Protestant Reformation, Renaissance, and Enlightenment also. And if you discuss what religious studies are, it is based on the study of a religion. Religion, as it is understood today, refers to a wide range of socio-cultural systems, which include the scope, beliefs, morals, ethics, religious practices, thought worlds, worldviews, holy texts, scriptures, sanctified holy places, and established and formal religious institutions. Also, it originated from the Greek term threskia and the later term religio. Basically, most of these religions believe in God or supernatural entity, though this may not always be the case. Religion has been assessed to since prehistoric times and has been known in many parts of the world. And for example, many definitions have been provided of the term religion. The Canadian American sociologist and anthropologist Anthony M.C. Wallace describes religion as a belief and ritual concerned with supernatural beings, powers, and forces. The Oxford Dictionary defines religion as a belief in the worship of a superhuman controlling power, especially a personal god or gods. I had also discussed another 11 or 12 other definitions in my papers, earlier papers. Please go through them. Therefore, religious studies should refer to a scientific study of religion, though this is not always accomplished, achieved, or fulfilled or realized. Okay, and this suppose purportedly studies religion from objective, empirical, rational, historical, analytical, cross-cultural perspectives. This is again not fructified, or fulfilled or realized. Okay, religious studies also include some concepts driven from philosophy, anthropology, psychology, sociology, history, sociology of religion, anthropology of religion, etc. And there is as yet no complete scholarly consensus on what falls between the purview of scholarly religious studies and what falls outside the purview of scholarly religious studies. Okay, if you trace the history of religious studies, Greek historian and geographer Hecataeus of Miletus published works on genealogies and mythologies. Later, during the Middle Ages, Islamic scholars such as the polymath and historian Ibn Hazm studied Jewish, Christian, Persian, Roman, Indian, Chinese religions also. And the first comprehensive treaty of religion was a treatise on religious and philosophical sects written by the Muslim scholar Muhammad al-Shastastani. Okay, and we had other people like Peter the Venerable who studied Islam and translated the Quran into Latin. Egyptian religion was studied by many Egyptologists. We had Indologists, Sinologists, Africologists, etc. Etc. Indologists again were Max Muller and other people. They studied it from purely Western centered perspective. For example, Max Muller proposed works on comparative mythology based on earlier works, comparative analysis by William Jones and Filipino Society, who tried to prove that Western languages were related to North Indian languages. Okay, so if you see the scope of religious studies studies various functions of religion such as personal, social, cultural, political, economics, etc. And they deal with the classification of religions and critically investigate religious phenomena. It is not generally a positive force because trying to improve religion or trying to move societies beyond religion is not a formal part and parcel of religious studies. It's just more passive. Okay, and sometimes ideology is because we had Islam or leftism also. I will talk to you more about it later. And the cross-cultural studies have not been emphasized adequately. There are no ethnic or ethnic perspectives. Cultural barriers are not being broken down widely, and there is no cross-cultural research design in place. There is also no institutional coherentism because there are many different silos existing, islands of thought existing, which have not been reconciled as yet. This is particularly the bane of most Western scholarship in social sciences, many fields of social sciences. And we, of course, had different approaches to religious studies. We had concepts such as phenomenology, which was proposed by Edmund Husserl. Okay, it is based on how people's structures of people think. Okay, we had even many Claude, what is Levi Strauss, Claude Levi Strauss, and other people who are talking about structuralism. We also had a functionalist approach. Means each aspect of religion has a particular function. This was promoted by Bronislaw Malinowski and A.D. Radcliffe Brown. Okay, Marxism also was a method of socioeconomic analysis that was developed by the 19th century German scholar Karl Marx, and along with Friedrich Engels. And Marxist provides a critique of capitalism and talks about the constant struggle, imaginary or real, between the bourgeoisie, petty bourgeoisie, the toiling masses, the elitist bourgeoisie, and the proletariat. It therefore calls for the overthrow of the bourgeoisie and establishment of classless society. Marx saw religion as an unnecessary evil, a sign of an oppressed creature, expression of suffering. He also saw it more famously as opium of the masses. Therefore, he had his own approach towards study of religion, which may be rather limited approach. Because Marxists tend to promote Islam because it doesn't. It is more in tune with the idea of classless society, unlike Hinduism, which is not. Okay, it's also teleological and deterministic in that it posits an origin in history at the start of the revolution of the proletariat. Okay, sometimes we have also had historical approach, but true historical methods have never been adopted. There's some bias and prejudice always. For example, we don't have a scholarly study on the origin of Hinduism, which is at best a geographical expression, or Islam, which may have been founded by a particular individual for his own personal benefit. This is possible, but again, it needs to be qualified and substantiated. Okay, we also need to use data gathering, inductive approaches, data gathering, social science research techniques. Okay, these are not properly, widely, fully utilized in religious studies as well. Okay, we also have anthropological approach, but again, this treats other societies as being primitive and barbaric. Okay, it has not been brought widely into the 21st century format. We need to study human societies in an integrated, holistic fashion, interrelationship between each other, and how cultures change in the 21st century scenario. We had proposed a symbiotic approach to social cultural change, and we also need to have comparative theology, universal theology, etc. It is for this very reason that many people have criticized religious studies, at least in present format. They have included Timothy Fitzgerald, Richard E. King, Jonathan Z. Smith, Tomoko Mazusawa, Talal Assad, Geoffrey A. Odig, and Russell T. McCutcheon. Okay, and we also have post-colonialists also had been trying to do with colonial studies, but again, some of these people have a vested interest. They include Hindutva groups, etc. Marxist historians, of course, promote an ideologically driven differentiation of religion. Okay, Indology also has not been entirely free from its colonial baggage, and we have been proposing alternative approaches in the recent past. Indology is now seen as dying in the West. Okay, we also need to have several characteristics of 21st century religious studies, such as objectivity, interdisciplinary approaches, transdisciplinary approaches, historical assessment along with context specific and content driven approaches, analytical approaches. Analytical approaches, for example, if we have the Birmingham manuscript of the Quran, which needs to be studied properly, holistically, okay, and critically. And we had the Uthman manuscript, we had the Sanan manuscript, we had different codices, palimpsests, etc. For example, if you want to study the biography of Muhammad, we must do so holistically. He was born in 570 CE or AD. He's the son of Abdullah ibn Abd al Muttalib and Amina bint Wahab. Okay, his father and mother died early. He was raised by his grandfather and paternal uncle Abu Talib. Okay, he founded his religion in Mecca later. Medina flight is known as Hijrah. Later verses, the Medina verses are particularly A and his as he calls him calls him the Medina verses. They are particularly violent. Okay, and they are particularly non-justifiable from the perspective. Therefore, we must push for a historically accurate versions of biographies, not hagiographies or ideologically drenched of folk criticism. And we again had satanic verses, which are controversial episode in the Prophet life of Prophet Muhammad. These are supposedly praises to pagan deities that contradict the Islam belief that Allah is one and absolute God. And again, the Salman Rushdie's 1998 version is loosely based on this. He has issued many fatwas. He has been issued many fatwas from clerics in Iran and other places. He was also recently injured, and his eye was injured badly. And we also need to understand why Muhammad prohibited wine, historical context. He's managed Asia, how exactly Islam spread, okay, and why four testimonies are required to prove rape. Again, we need to have historical explanations for everything. Narratives must be objective, not swayed by ideology. Stakeholder-driven objective must be followed. We read our approach historiography for by objectives. Okay, I've written 5 papers on 20th century historiography. Human sensitivities must not be trampled. However, truth must be explored. Structured and graduated criticism gradually must bring out the truth. Scientific method is required in historiography. Investigative historiography is as followed, must be pursued. We don't need hagiographies. Examples of hagiographies are Wilton Life of Saint Edith, the Lives and the Saints, the Life of Saint Teresa of Avila, Story of a Soul, the autobiography of Saint Therese de Lisieux, Saint Thomas Aquinas, a hagiography written by G.K. Chesterton, etc. We don't need ideologically driven glorification, no ideologically driven hatred, no whitewashing, no Bowdlerization. I've written about Bowdlerization earlier. No blind adulation for any religion, no scrutiny based on a limited set of parameters, just as Marxists do. Religions must be evaluated holistically and completely. Structured and graduated criticism. We must do away with far left nutcases and far right nutcases, as this has been observed by many scholars. Of course, both these extreme left, far right are nutcases. They deal with a limited number of issues and are far associated with the they are often associated with the mainstream, unfortunately. We had the concept of Islamoleftism. It is a neologism applied by individuals to the political alliance between Islamists and leftists. And Islamoleftism was coined by French police for citizens of superiority. They are called Alain Badiou and Eric Hazan. Okay, and it was also probably conceived by the British Trotskyists of Social Workers Party. Okay, we again have far right nutcases. They say that everything came from Hinduism. Kaaba was a Shiva's an example. We had P. N. Oak, who was a historical negationist from India. According to among his prominent claims were that Christianity and Islam are both derivatives of Hinduism. He proposed that Vatican City, Kaaba, Westminster Abbey, and Taj Mahal were once Hindu temples. Okay, the papacy was originally a Vedic priesthood. Of course, this has not been, this cannot be justified, and this approach was criticized by many other people. Therefore, people must get over all sorts of ideology, reaction, left, right, everything, and they must we must have a scientific temper instilled. A scientific method needs to be evolved at under all circumstances. We need a dialectical approach, objectivity in mindset, and dispassionate objectivity. We need pure logic. We need evidence-based approach. We need testimonies, no ideology. The world may slowly need to be moved beyond religion. This will change people's mind orientation, society's cultural orientation. It will boost scientific output. People must be taught how to think. Only the scientifically and intellectually aware should inherit the earth. The left is absurd, just like the right also may be absurd. Far left has also often been castigated. Lead the criticism by many scholars, many balanced and objective scholars. Okay. Again, we need practicalism and pragmatism, such as alignment with real world problems, prioritization and time allocation according to nature importance of real world problems, practical and workable solutions to real world problems, alignment with cultural needs, eschewing abstract and non-productive ideas or relegating to the background, eschewing intellectual nerdism or intellectual aloofness, and general lack of purposefulness. An outside in approach needs to be carried out at all times as opposed to an inside out approach. Okay, measuring the real world applicability of connectedness and utility of proposed and executed solutions as far as possible. No overall desire to do service to society and to mankind. There must also be no hanky-panky or mischief in peer reviews and evaluation of third-party ideas also. So the entire engine of scholarship must be brought into the 21st century. Use of up-to-date historical models must be pursued wherever necessary. Service of society and making society better must drive the agenda. Modulating the excesses of religion is very important. No rampant careerism, no ethnocentrism, uh, cross-cultural research design. I had also proposed the 10 canons or 10 commandments. These would include a complete and total separation of religion and state in all countries and societies where this has not been achieved or accomplished. Number two, developing secular constitutions that grant all human rights to citizens in countries where these have not yet been implemented. Number three, universal education for all groups and both genders, and being up to date with the latest pedagogical techniques so that education system can be brought up to date from time to time. Granting complete religious freedoms, including religion freedom to practice, freedom to convert, and freedom to non-religion. Number five, saying no to religious inspired laws and instituting and promulgating secular laws instead. Number six, taking steps to promote a scientific temper and a spirit of inquiry in society by allowing meaningful and productive debate and improving education systems. Number seven, phasing out religious education and teaching universal human values instead. Number eight, allowing free media. There must be absolutely no censorship of the internet and media. Number nine, allowing complete freedom of speech and freedom of free and open discussion of religion and permitting constructive criticism of religion in various platforms such as media and universities. Number 10, moving all nations towards democracy and democratically elected governments in due course. We must fight to gradually bring them into fruition. This may take 1 or 2 centuries. It can be done through collaborative and concerted action by scholars and putting pressure on governments and institutions over the next couple of decades. Okay, religion can slowly decline. This can at best be a gradual process. People can become more spiritual, more philosophical, and more ruminative, cogitative instead. Blind faith can end. People may eventually become cultural Hindus, cultural Muslims, cultural Christians, refer to a concepts on mind space, thought worlds, worldviews, mind orientation, cultural orientation. More social science research techniques are also required. They must also be implemented in true letter and spirit. Therefore, the entire concept of religious studies and needs to be reworked upon quite comprehensively and foundationally. I have written about this at a great level of depth. Okay, this video also summarizes my earlier work. Thank you very much once again. Bye.